A lot of people are like, this feels like an old PBS show.
It's classier. Yeah,
it's classier,
yeah,
And so I'm like, I don't think the thumbnail where I'm on there going would
yeah. Right.
really. You're
Of
not
course
going
not.
to, because the video is not going to deliver on
Yeah.
that.
Right.
That's not what the video is, and so then it is clickbait, and
Yeah.
I hate that.
You're listening to What the Hell is Michael Jamin Talking About? I'll tell you what I'm talking about. I'm talking about creativity, I'm talking about writing, and I'm talking about reinventing yourself through the arts.
Hey everyone, it's Michael Jamin. Welcome back to another episode of What the Hell is Michael Jamin Talking About? Well, today I'm talking about, as always, people who are doing creative things, who have invented themselves creatively. And so my next guest has done just that. He's Tasting History with Max Miller. He's the host. And Tasting History is a really interesting channel. I'll get to it. But he's got like 2 million subscribers, which is gigantic on YouTube. So Max, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Excited.
I'm so inspired by what you're doing. So, like, basically, your show, for those who don't know, it's a cooking show, but it's also, he talks about it's historical cooking. So, what they made in ancient Greece or whatever, or what prisoners ate, whatever. And so it's cooking, but it's also educational, which I find it's such an interesting little niche you have, and yet it's blown up.
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually always say I have a history show where I cook, because it's really started to focus more on the history than anything else.
Well, tell me
yeah,
how did this all start?
It kind of started with the Great British Bake Off.
Mm-hmm.
I used to when that show first came out, actually before it even came out here in the US, I got obsessed with it and started baking everything that they had on it.
Okay.
And that's really how I learned how to bake. But they would always talk about the history of the dishes that they were baking. They don't do that anymore. And so I would bring my baked goods into work. I was working at Disney, the movie studio at the time, and I would bring in the baked goods and tell all of my coworkers a little bit about the history. And then one of my coworkers was like, you know what? Go tell someone else these little anecdotes. Put it up on YouTube. Find an audience. And so that's what I did.
Wait, were you trying to pitch it to Disney? Is that why?
No, it was more that I just needed something creative to do. My job at Disney, I loved it, but it wasn't super creative, at least not my creative thing. I was creating stuff for other people.
What were you doing then at Disney?
I had been working in marketing, so I had worked on the trailers and stuff like that. And then in the months before before the pandemic, really, I was working in sales, selling our movies to the theaters, which was actually a lot of fun and challenging, but not super creative in the way that I like to be.
But tell me, so you're not from LA. You moved to LA for what reason then?
To do voiceover.
To be a voiceover actor.
Yeah, I had been in New York doing musical theater for 8 years.
Okay.
And New York is exhausting.
Yeah.
And I decided, you know what, I need a slower pace of life. So I moved out here, and I had a few friends out here, and I wanted to do voiceover. I was always much more comfortable behind a mic than I was on stage or in front of a camera. And so I was like, okay, animation, that's the way to go. And so I did that for a little while.
Did you have much success at it?
It's funny you ask. So in animation, no, I did a few little things, and in commercial, couple little things. But where I ended up getting a lot of work was in audiobooks, because I have the voice of, like, especially then, of like a 16-year-old boy. And so I was doing a lot of like YA audiobooks.
Interesting. See, this is so interesting. Okay, so you were an actor trying to get even more acting gigs, and you must have become, all right, it's good that you made some money doing voiceover for books, but it doesn't sound like you were as accomplished as you wanted to be. Is that right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I always had to be working at a restaurant, or I started temping at Disney.
Right.
And then that just turned into a full-time job. But yeah, I never made a full living for more than like 6 months at a time. I always
Okay.
had to fall back.
So you were, as I talk about this a lot, actors and writers, the same thing, help me get in the door, help me do everyone's always begging for an opportunity. Get me in, please, let me. And then I guess at some point you decided, I'm tired of asking. I'm just going to do something that I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And this is what happens when you put energy into something. You created your own little thing and you blew up.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the amazing thing about YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. You couldn't do this 15, 20 years ago. And
No.
Or at least you could do it. It was just nobody would have a place to watch you do it. And it's not easy, but it's available.
But
it's an option.
From what I see, like your show, everyone should again check it out. Tasting History with Max Miller. It seems like it's really well produced, and it seems like this is not. This is a TV show, but it's free on the internet. That's what I see when I look at it.
Well, thank you. All I notice is, oh, my lighting this week was terrible, or oh god, there's a typo on the screen. I only notice all the mistakes that I make.
But do you shoot this? It's shot in the kitchen. Is the kitchen in your house?
Yep.
Yeah, it's your house, it's your kitchen, and you have it's lit. Do you have a team helping you, or are you doing this all on your own?
It's all me.
You have no one helping you.
I don't want to say no one helps me because my husband does the subtitles and he reads all the scripts beforehand to make sure that it's coherent. Because once in a while I'll say something and he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Everyone knows who that is. What that is?" And he's like, "No, everyone doesn't." So then I fix
what
that.
About editing and stuff?
So I just in the last couple months brought on someone to help me with some of the editing. I still end up doing all the images and a lot of that, but she's fantastic and has cut down the major part of the editing for me because that was, I mean, I would spend 12 to 15 hours each episode just editing, and now it's maybe 4.
And the rest of
that.
So now you use a lot of time, I imagine, to research and to prep and to practice these recipes you're doing. Is that right?
Yeah, research is definitely the most intensive part. It's also my favorite part, though. It's probably, depending on the episode, anywhere from 12 to 20 hours of research, and then kind of crafting the script.
So this is your full-time job now. This is how you make your living.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It is more hours than I've ever worked in my life.
But I mean, you're great at it. You're great on camera. The content is very interesting, very engaging. Sometimes you take it in the field, which is a great write-off. It's an excuse to get out of the house and shoot something on the field, which is great.
Exactly.
Have other opportunities come from this? Unexpected opportunities, maybe?
Yes, absolutely. One I'm not actually allowed to talk about, but it'll be something on the standard actual television. So that's exciting.
Right.
And then the other is, I wrote a cookbook, and that has done immensely well. It was on the New York Times bestseller list, which was something I never really expected that I would be on.
Did they reach out to you? Did a publisher reach out to you, or did you?
Yeah, they reached out to me shortly after I started the channel, actually. I think it was about 6 months in. It was somebody who had watched my Garum episode and said, we would love to do this as a book. And it ended up being kind of rough because she was super excited about the project and she knew the channel, and then she got laid off.
Yeah.
So I got transferred to another editor who has been absolutely great, but he didn't really know what to do with me because he did cookbooks. And I was like, well, this is a history book with recipes in it. And he's like, okay. So it took a little time to kind of figure out exactly what we were doing, but it ended up working out.
But this is interesting because, most people will approach a publisher, but please, I got a book, buy my book. But when you build it yourself, it's the other way around. And it's just so much, it's like, make them come to you. And it's because you put the work in first. And how big was your channel when they first reached out to you?
Not huge. It was maybe in the 200 to 250,000 subscriber range, which is actually really big. Yeah. But not where I am now.
What was the first video that you blew up on? What was that?
Garum. It
Oh,
was
okay.
so I started the channel the last week of February, and this was, I think, the third week of June.
Oh, okay.
So it
That's
wasn't
fast.
that long after starting. It was because it was COVID and nobody had
Uh,
anything to do but watch YouTube videos.
right.
Um, and it was, I had been getting a few thousand views on my videos, which I thought was stellar because this really wasn't supposed to be a thing.
Yeah.
And then within a week, it was at almost a million views, and I had jumped from 10,000 subscribers to 150,000 in a week.
Wow. Wow.
Um,
Now, I guess you can't talk about, obviously, you can't this project, this network project, but what about acting opportunities? And I mean, you're a face now. You're this guy people know.
yeah, I mean, when it comes to acting opportunities, everything right now is
Well,
acting myself, you know.
right, right,
Um, and I'm sure that if I went out and auditioned, maybe I could get something, but I don't have time.
right. You don't
This
have
is
time. Yeah.
this is what it is. And really, at this point, if I did something acting wise, I probably want to go back to musical theater, which was
Really?
my first love, and and do some shows.
Oh,
But
wow. I wouldn't roll that out. I mean, you keep on building your audience, and I certainly would
yeah,
not roll that out. I mean, uh, what is? I mean, what is fame? Are you getting recognized now? Or are you out? What's it like for you?
I am. I actually just got recognized at Costco today.
Really?
Yeah, it's funny. I get recognized very seldomly here in Los Angeles because I
Uh-huh.
think everyone sees, people out all the time. But
Right.
whenever I go anywhere else, I always get recognized, which is pretty awesome. Even in Greece,
Even in
I got
Greece.
recognized every day in Greece by people who had
Really?
watched this one video when I did this Spartan blood broth
Uh-huh.
video. Everyone in Greece, I swear, has seen that video. So that's how they all knew me.
I wonder
But
if
it's awesome.
I wonder if fame for people like you is different than like movie actors or TV actors in the sense that you're this friend that they watch on the or what do you think?
It is more of that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know what it's like for Beyonce, but I know for me, I do get a lot of people who it's like we already have a
Yeah,
relationship
right.
and that we're good friends because we hang out for 20 minutes every Tuesday.
But not
Um,
only that, they're probably looking you at on their phone, which is this close. Like, it's not even the
yeah,
TV. It's like,
yeah,
and do you think? I mean, that's to me, that's this fame is such an interesting thing. Yeah, I work with obviously a lot of actors, but they create. When you're an actor, it's the character that they know,
right,
and
right.
and sometimes they have a hard time differentiating between you and the villain that you play. It's like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
not me.
yeah.
But with you, it's different. I think it must be very different. It's you're a friend. I think, right?
And I mean, in the show, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm not playing a character at all. It's just this is how I am. And so it does create a bond, I guess. You do get to know it is so much more about the creator. There are other people who have maybe started to kind of do what I do, or that were already kind of doing what I do slightly differently. I'm not the first person to cook historical food by any
Uh-huh.
means, but I'm me doing it and
Yes.
they are them doing it. And so it will always be different. People are like, oh, they're coming for it. No, there's so much room for everyone because everyone is an individual. And, B. Dylan Hollis approaches historic food in a very different way. I don't know if you know him, but
No.
he's on TikTok. He's huge. He's fantastic. He has a great cookbook out, but his personality is his personality
Right.
and mine is mine. And even if we covered the exact same topic, it would be done in such a different way. Uh,
Was there ever any like imposter syndrome on your end? Like I didn't go to culinary school. I'm not a this
yeah,
or that. Uh-huh.
every day. I mean, the fact that I have a cookbook out is insane.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, no, there is both on the cooking end of things and the history end of things because I'm not a trained historian either.
Right.
Really, the show is just me reading things that I thought were interesting.
Right.
And me fumbling my way through the kitchen until I come up with something that I think was what the recipe was trying to get at.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
a lot of times these recipes, as I look at them, like they just say what the ingredients are. They don't say the proportions. They certainly don't say the temperature was cooked at if it was cooked in Middle
Yeah.
Ages, like,
Yeah.
and so you're just
No,
going
they're
by what you think it should be.
yeah, they're all vague, to sometimes to the degree of you can't even tell if this is a bread or a soup, kind of vague. But with context clues, you can't just read the recipe. You have to read other things, usually in the cookbooks or other cookbooks from the time, and then leaning on other historians and scholars who have done work for years and years, you're kind of able to make an educated guess on a lot of
Uh,
things. But that's
do-
all it's ever going to be.
but do you think, like, can you tell me like how food dishes have changed over the centuries? Or is there like, are we using way more sugar now or something?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's partly because our palates have just changed in a way, at least here in the United States,
Uh,
but also because it's so much cheaper. In the Middle Ages, they loved sugar, but it was being grown in Indonesia or
uh,
India. And so it had to come a long way. And then it had to be refined to become white sugar, which was an incredibly lengthy process and incredibly expensive and really only done in one or two places in the world.
uh,
So a little bit of sugar was like it was like buying a Lamborghini, and
yeah.
showing off your wealth. So most people didn't get it. Whereas then you get to like the 18th century and all the poor people are putting sugar in
Oh,
their tea and
really?
food. And so the rich people were like, we don't want that in our food anymore. We're going to go with fresh ingredients
Oh,
instead.
really? Really?
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah.
And then like that's another thing. Like processed food is so relatively new. And obviously,
Yeah.
was there any kind of version of processed food in historically before,
I mean,
modern day age?
I guess it depends on what you mean by
I
processed.
don't know. Something that was, I don't know. What does it mean to be processed?
Because, like, if you take corn
Mhm.
and make it into cornmeal,
Uh,
and nixtamalize it, which is a laborious process that needs lye, and you're boiling it and then grinding it in a certain way. The Aztecs did that, so it's been done,
right.
and far before them, for thousands of years. So that's a process. Making sugar into white sugar is a lengthy process, but that's been done for hundreds of years. Well, no, thousands of years.
Mhm.
So is it, a Stouffer's microwave meal? No, but we have had processed food for forever. It's just
Okay.
a different process.
What do you think when you cook it? I mean, I imagine the biggest problem. This is why a cooking show will never work. This is why I'm an executive. No, this is why it'll never work. Is because people can't taste it, and yet
Yeah.
obviously it does work. And so, what do you like? How do you cross? How do you get over that hurdle when you're done with a dish?
I mean, I think honestly, visually, people are
Mhm.
able to kind of feel like they know what something tastes like just by knowing all the ingredients that are in it and then seeing it visually.
Right.
Whether that is correct or not, who's to say? But that doesn't mean that the enjoyment isn't still there. And then I taste it at the end of the episode and I try my best to describe it, but my description skills are not the best, especially on the fly,
Mhm.
because usually when I'm tasting something on camera, it is the first time that I've ever tasted it. I only make the recipes once.
Right.
So unless something goes horribly wrong, it's the first time that I've tasted it. And so, right then coming up with words of how to describe it, I'm not the best. It's something I'm working on. But it doesn't seem to harm things.
But I'm a little surprised when you said like it's you alone in the kitchen. You have a couple of cameras, you turn them on, you hope they're in focus, and you run in front of the camera. Like I'm surprised you don't have a director. I don't know, giving you feet or helping you, giving more joy on your face or something.
So it's funny you said that. So Jose, my husband, focuses the camera right before I shoot
Mhm.
to make sure I'm in focus, because so many times I've filmed an entire thing and I'm not. So he focuses the camera, hits record, and then says, high energy, and then leaves the room. And so that's the direction that I get at the beginning, high energy. And often in my script, I will write in, more energy, just because you do need a lot of energy on camera to kind of come
Yeah,
through.
you do. People don't realize that.
Yeah, when you're really just being yourself on camera, it comes across as super flat.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's a heightened
so
version of
I do kind
yourself.
of have to remind myself.
Right. Yeah. And so I had a lot of thoughts about that, but I wonder if if this is an opportunity for you to do even like, I don't know, like a live show. I don't know, cooking. I don't know. Is there something like that you're thinking about exploring or, you
So
know?
yeah, I actually have thought about doing like live shows, simply because one of my favorite things to do is meet people who watch the show.
Uh-huh.
It's a very insular kind of life. I work alone. I do everything pretty much all at home
Yeah.
alone. So meeting people who watch the show has been really exciting. And on book tour, I got to do that really for the first
Right.
time. And so I think doing a live thing where I cook and talk about the history would be great. The only thing is, I am a really messy and slow cook.
Uh-huh.
I am not Julia Child, who used to do it all live every week. I couldn't do that, so it
Yeah,
would take a
but
lot of practice.
couldn't you have two versions? All right, you got the messy version, and there's oh, by the way, here I did this earlier. Here's the real version. I mean, I think people would know that, would appreciate, would be kind. You know what I'm saying? They'd
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. I don't know. I
You don't
don't
know.
know.
Do you what? Is it hard for you when you do watch I guess when you're editing, you watch everything, but now that you're not editing it, I mean, what's it like for you even watching yourself?
Really, once it's out,
Hmm.
I never watch them again.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not necessarily that I find it hard to watch myself. What I find hard is when I do go back and watch older videos, it pains me to
Yeah.
see. I'm proud of how far I've come, but it
Hmm.
pains me that I was ever not where I am now. And that comes
Yeah.
with the
Hmm.
technical aspects, the lighting, the sound, all of that. But really, more than anything, it's my script writing has just become so much tighter.
Right.
The how I go in depth on the history has really changed. So eventually, I kind of want to go back to some of the earlier topics that I talked about and redo them, because I'm like, I talked about the history for 3 minutes. I've got
Not
20
enough.
minutes of content to do. So
People don't realize that sometimes they think they're afraid of putting themselves out there because they're going to suck, and you are going to suck. That's why
you're
you
gonna
keep
suck.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you, oh, I had it. No, it came in my head and just lost it. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Do you feel this pressure? I mean, you do one a week, right?
Usually, once in a while, I'll do two, but usually once a week.
Do you feel this incredible, like it never ends? It never ends. Is that a burden? Is that something you struggle with or no?
Yeah, yeah. It is, because it is every week, and people are like, well, you can take a week off, but one, YouTube does not. They say they don't mind that, but they do.
They do. Yeah.
The algorithm does,
Yeah.
and two, for me, I feel like it's going to be like the gym. If I take one day off of the gym, I'm probably going to take 2 days off,
Yeah.
and that'll be a week. And I think if I miss one episode, it'd be like, oh, well, I'll do that again next month, and so I just every Tuesday. Um, it is, I can't think too far ahead, because it does get kind of daunting. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, when will I run out of ideas?
Right.
And when I go on vacation or take a trip somewhere, getting those videos ready ahead of time. My friends, and they don't see me for weeks at a time, because
Mm,
I'm working from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. 7 days a week for the 2 weeks before I go on vacation.
it's that much work, really. Yeah.
It is. I work probably 10 hours a day with breaks of petting the cats and going to get lunch, but it's all day, and it's pretty much 7 days a week in some respect. Even if I'm not working on an episode per
Uh-huh.
se, I'm uh, coming up with ideas for other things. I'm going through my emails.
Yeah.
It takes me months to respond to an email, or going on, Instagram and cleaning up that, and Facebook. There's just so many different aspects to it that there is no time that I'm not somewhat in tasting history mode.
When you say cleaning up in Instagram, what does that mean?
Going through comments, going
Mhm.
through messages.
Because now I'm going to get to the real stuff. So when you say going through comments, is any of it haters? Are you dealing with any haters?
Very rarely.
Uh-huh.
I have a really positive audience, but they come along, and
Right.
there's a fair share of, well, actually going on. And I think
Yeah.
anytime that you share facts of any kind, you're going to get that because, especially with history,
Yeah.
there's so much up for debate. There's so much vagueness in history that you can't ever please everyone.
Do you
Um,
respond to them? How do you treat it?
Once in a while, I will. If they're polite, then I
Yeah.
will.
Right.
If they're not, then I don't, because usually it's like, well, they're having a bad day. You know what?
Right.
I've watched your
Yeah.
channel
Well,
enough that
that's
I
why I'm
know.
asking how you do. That's why I want to know how you
Yeah,
do it because it's hard.
it is really hard. And when I first started, a mean comment would ruin my
Hmm.
week. I would
Hmm.
dwell on it. I get 1,000 good comments and I
Right.
get one bad one, and it's just all week. And I'm like, should I change how I do my entire show based on this one
Hmm.
person's opinion? Maybe. Um, Now it ruins my hour, and then I usually forget about it.
Do you leave
But
it there? Or do you, oh, go on,
oh,
please.
so sometimes I do, but a lot of times I don't. Especially if it's really just mean,
Hmm.
or if there's any kind of racism, homophobia,
Right.
anything like that, which does happen, I get rid of it. But if it's more of just a critique of any
Hmm.
kind, I'll usually leave it. Um,
Do you
and
block
I
these people or
usually
no?
I only block people if they are being truly vile human
Right. Okay.
beings that
Right.
I don't need them in my audience. I also have a secret weapon, and that is my husband, who
Uh-huh.
actually does go through all of the comments, and gets rid of most of the mean ones before I can ever see them.
But he doesn't respond. He doesn't engage, or does he?
Not with a mean one. No, he just
No.
gets rid of them.
Yeah.
He engages with the positive
Yeah. Right. People don't
comments.
realize it. I mean, it really is. It's one of these weird things where you have a voice. You now have a platform. You have a voice, and but in many ways you can't use it. You can't respond. It doesn't. It's just that you just can't. You just can't. You
It,
know.
it's it's never going to do any benefit,
Yeah.
really. Though there have been times where I have responded, and especially if somebody tries to correct me, and I'm not always right. I've made mistakes.
Uh-huh.
That's just the nature of putting stuff out there. But if I know I'm correct, and they try to correct me, I'll respond and say, "Hey, actually, they did have sugar in the Middle Ages." Um, and very often, even if it's a nasty worded comment, they will follow up being uber apologetic and like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I came
Yeah.
across that way, because most people, and myself included, when you're on your phone or whatever, it just whatever crap comes to your brain goes onto the phone and it's gone. And then
No,
you don't think about it anymore.
but I
But when I
disagree.
get it, it's all I think about.
But I disagree with you. I'm guessing the fact that you've been doing this so long with your channel. I bet you don't leave any kind of comments that are even remotely negative now.
No, I do not.
Right.
What comes, but sometimes when I'm responding to comments, I don't necessarily even think about the response. And it's not that I'm responding in a negative way or mean. It's just I will respond to 10 comments and realize I was on autopilot. I wasn't
Yeah.
even really reading necessarily and so I got to take a second and be like, they took time to comment. I'm going to take time to read it and respond.
Right.
Granted, I only respond to maybe 1% of the comments, but those comments
Isn't that
I
interesting?
try to actually respond.
I'm curious to how you think this whole thing, and it hasn't been that long. It's only been what, 2 or 3 years your channel's been up?
It'll be 4 in
Four.
February.
Okay, wow,
Yeah.
okay. So how do you think it's changed you as a person?
Um, I've always had a good work ethic, but
Mhm.
now it is a little like just I have a very good work ethic.
Right.
Um, I don't want to call myself a workaholic because I do
Hmm.
take take breaks to play with Lego and stuff. But
Right.
I really hold because nobody else is going to hold me accountable. So I just have to
Yeah.
really hold myself accountable. This is not the first creative endeavor I've tried. I worked on a book for a while. I worked in animation, making my own cartoons for a while.
Really?
I was doing all this other stuff, and once it didn't work out or whatever, I'd get frustrated and I'd stop doing it. This is the only one that I've stuck with no matter what. It's just like, you got to put out the work, even if I get to sit down in my computer one day, and this happens every week, and I have no ideas, and I'm looking at a blank page, and I'm like, I don't know what next week's episode is going to be.
Right.
I just sit there until it comes to me. And that is not how I was when I worked on some of my other projects. It was like, if it doesn't come easily, I quit.
Yeah. Is it, are you the animations, they yours then in your show? Do you do all that then?
Yeah. I mean, by animations,
Well, I don't know.
like the words coming up on screen.
Well, but is there any, I thought I saw other stuff, but no, you don't. I mean, why are you not adding animation then?
So there are two things that I didn't animate. So when the show first started, I animated the opening segment and the time for history little interstitial. But a couple years ago, I hired someone to do a better job.
Okay.
And so they did those. I don't do the animations because animation takes it takes forever.
Yeah.
And really, my most valuable commodity now is my time. And so if there's any way to make stuff go faster and keep it quality, I'll do it.
Now that's an interesting question. So are you because there are ways that you could do this with less quality, but you're not tempted to do it.
I don't want to say I'm not tempted, but I haven't, and I don't think I will. I'm often tempted. I think that I could find editors to find images for me.
Right.
I have tried. It's been far less quality. I've hired people to help with scripts, and it just hasn't worked out. It has, and I don't want to say I'm the best. I'm the only one that can do this, because I know that's not the case. I'm sure that other people could do it. It's just I'm not great at delegating. I'm not great at giving up control. Right. Because it's my thing, and I know exactly how I want it to be. And could I get out more episodes if I gave up that control? Yeah, probably. But it's doing so well. I guess I don't need it to. I'm fine having one channel and having it do as it's doing. People are like, well, you should be doing this project and this, and you would have time to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I would, but I like what I'm doing. I'm really enjoying my life right now. So
was it hard for you to quit your job and to do this full time?
So I didn't have much of a choice. So I can't say that it was hard, because I started the channel in the last week of February 2020. Right. And I was selling movies to movie theaters.
Oh, okay.
So by the second week of March,
I
no longer had a job. I was technically still employed by Disney, and they continued to pay for my insurance and everything. By the time they said, hey, do you want to come back? It was April of 2021, and the channel had taken off. And so I was like, no, I'm going to do this. It's not a sure thing, but my husband was still working for Disney, and so it's not like we would starve if I failed. So it was not. It was a hard decision, in as much as I loved my job at Disney, and I really missed the people that I worked with. I still miss people. I miss having coworkers, but when it came to, I knew that this was going to work.
You did.
I just did.
Well, it kind of already was, though. I mean, that's the thing.
It kind of already was. And I think I knew that I had a list of hundreds of ideas ready to go. And I knew that I was getting better. And so I thought, well, if I've gotten this much better in a year, I'm going to get a lot better in another year and 2 years. So,
Right.
Hey, it's Michael Jamin. If you like my content, and I know you do because you're listening to me, I will email it to you for free. Just join my watch list. Every Friday, I send out my top 3 videos of the week. These are for writers, actors, creative types, people like you. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. I'm not going to spam you, and the price is free. You got no excuse. To join, go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist. And now back to what the hell is Michael Jamin talking about?
What about collaborations with people? Or is that something you do? I didn't notice any.
I've done a few.
Uh-huh.
I have a couple actually coming up that I'm doing. I don't do that many, partly because
Like, hey, look who's in my kitchen this week. That kind of
yeah,
thing.
I think I watched one of your episodes in the last couple of weeks was with someone young guy on TikTok who said collaborations are the way to grow.
Right.
That's not the case with my kind of channel.
Right.
It to a degree it can, but that's just not with YouTube. It's not as important
Right.
anymore. It used to be, but not as much anymore. But also, it's a lot more work.
Oh, is it?
It's
Why?
just from a technical aspect,
Need
I
more
have trouble
cameras.
setting up one microphone, let
Yeah.
alone two microphones.
Yeah.
I have trouble, I film in my kitchen. I know where everything is going to be. So if ever I have to film in any other location, it's a nightmare. Um, and you have to, when I'm writing a script, I'm writing it for me. So
Right.
when I bring in a second voice and I don't know what they're going to say and everything,
Yeah.
it's so much harder.
Right.
Nothing in my show is off the cuff.
Right.
It's I have scripted it down almost to the word.
Are you on a teleprompter then?
No, so when I'm speaking, it is somewhat off the cuff. It's not word for word what's on the script, but I write out the script word for word. I'll read a paragraph, I'll remember it, and then I'll regurgitate it to the camera, but changing the words ever so slightly so it comes
Right.
across as if it's the first time I'm saying it. But no, I'm not on a teleprompter. I don't think I could be. I I don't know that it would come across as real
Are
for
you are
me.
you are you doing multiple takes then, or what? Or no? Multiple
Many,
takes.
many
Many takes.
takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because I do trip over my words and
Yeah.
everything, and there are often times a lot of foreign words and complicated names and dates and
Mhm.
everything. So I'm always kind of having to look down at the script to remember what I'm saying. And then and that is what my new editor is editing out. I'll give her an hour and 20 minutes that
Uh-huh.
needs to be cut down into 18 minutes because of all of the mistakes that I've
And
made.
then you'll give her notes on that cut and use a different take, or no?
So usually whatever the last take I took is the take that I want.
Okay.
Because once I've got it right, I'll move on.
Right.
And she has my cadence down really, really well. So
Right.
there are very few comments that I have to give her, and she's super fast. So she turns it around literally 3 times faster than I ever could.
Right.
It's pretty astonishing. So so far it's been a great help.
It's so interesting. 'Cause like I said, it really looks like I'm surprised that you said you're the only one. It looks like a TV show. It looks like there's like a bunch of people helping you out. And
Thank you.
so, are you monetizing mostly through ads on YouTube, and or selling your cookbook, and what? How do you do
Yeah,
that?
I mean, ads is definitely the number one
Uh-huh.
spot for me. And then I have cookbook. I do sponsorships. I have a Patreon. There
Oh, I
are other
saw that. That's right. The Patreon, which
forms.
is it's so interesting. So because now that's the problem with Patreon. You have to think of additional bonus content that you charge people for that you're not putting in your show. I mean, and yet you're putting so much in your show. I was like, what's bonus?
Yeah, so there isn't a lot of bonus content on my Patreon because
Okay.
everything does go that luckily my patrons they know how much is going into each episode, so they know that I
So
don't
then
really have time. So
what's the advantage
instead,
for them?
I have other things. Like the main thing is we do a monthly happy hour. We
Uh-huh.
make a cocktail and we do a Zoom happy hour. Um,
Interesting.
Few of them actually take advantage of it, which is, and I send out like little gifts every few months, magnets and stuff that are associated with the show, stickers, things like that.
Oh.
But one thing I do
Uh-huh.
is with the first cookbook and with I'm working on a second, they help me with the recipes. So I give them the recipes and they help with the testing. And so we have just a lot of back and forth, and they're just so helpful. And
Oh, wow.
so it's
How
more of a
interesting.
relationship that grows with the patrons.
And so you get a handful of people on Zoom and you just chat for an hour or so?
Yeah,
And these are basically huge fan. They're just huge fans. That's what they are.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's cool because like when I was on book tour, I would actually get to meet some of them in person. You know, they
Uh-huh.
would live in the towns. When I was in Dallas, we actually did a real happy hour and had like 20 patrons get together, and we just all
Really?
went to a bar and had drinks and hung out.
Isn't this
So
crazy?
it's
I mean,
cool.
isn't this crazy? I
It's
mean,
it's surreal.
yeah,
Surreal. Yeah.
it's so interesting. And you didn't when you put up your page, it's people. It's such a creative way to make a living. You didn't know any of this when you started. You must have been like, I don't know what I'm doing on page, and then you just figured out what my Patreon account was going to be.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I actually had to have a viewer tell me about Patreon. I didn't know about it, and they were like, "You should be doing this." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And there's been a lot of that. I've actually learned a lot from my viewers,
It's
Patreon
interesting.
patrons and non-patrons. I say that when people give me critiques, I don't often take them, but sometimes I do, especially early on.
Hmm.
There was one person who wrote me an email, and it was really critical and it was really long. It wasn't mean spirited. It
Hmm.
was absolutely in the spirit of, I know how you can do this better.
Yeah, but it was also unsolicited.
It was unsolicited.
Right.
I had only been doing it for 2 months. It broke my heart. It
Right.
was horrible. And yet, I thank that person so much because everything that that person said was spot on. And I put those into practice, and it made the show all the better. So even when it's unsolicited, even when it's mean spirited, he was not at all. But even when it is mean spirited, that doesn't mean that they're wrong.
But
And so sometimes you gotta listen and say, hey, maybe I can improve in this way. And then sometimes you gotta say, screw you. And it's knowing what to take and what not to take that is honestly the hard part, because
how did he know? Like, what was the basis for his expertise when he gave you his opinion?
I have no idea.
Right.
I honestly have no idea. Was he just someone who watched a lot of videos? Or
Hmm.
was he someone who made videos? I kind of feel like he was someone who made videos, or was maybe
Right.
someone who had been in directing or editing, because his advice was very
Right.
technical, was on, had it was stuff that if you had never been involved in being on camera or watching people on camera, you wouldn't know.
Hmm.
And then some of it was storytelling.
Right.
I mean, it was lengthy. I think if I had printed it out, it would have been 7 or 8 pages. Um,
Interesting.
and he was spot on. And I've had plenty of other people be spot on about things, and then sometimes, most of the times they're not. Most of the times they don't know what they're talking about. They
Right.
have, like I said, they have no expertise or whatever. And then there are times where it's like, yes, you're right, but doing that would either be too expensive or too laborious, or I all sorts of things. I mean, you get things, people being like, you should redo your kitchen.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to be, but not
Right.
because you told me
Right.
to.
But if you do, that's going to shut down your show for a couple months.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah, you got to
I
book a
might
set.
end up I might end up going and filming at all my friends' kitchens. So for
Yeah,
like 2 months, you'll get an episode in
that's a,
different kitchens.
that's a good idea if your friends will, if they're up for it. But it's
They've all agreed.
and then would you put them in it too, or no? Too hard.
No, probably
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's too hard.
Okay. It's so interesting when you talk about Patreon because it's one, people have asked me, are you going to do that as well? It just seems like another thing I have to think about and almost another burden I have to worry about once a month. I got to worry about what else am I going to give people? What am I going to mail people? What magnet,
Yep.
like, it is something to think about. And then I felt like, it's just like, is this going to be a burden on me? I'm worried about burdens, you
Yeah,
know?
no, I get it. And I think if I was where I'm at today, I probably wouldn't start a Patreon.
Really?
Because because are you doing it for you need the income, or are you doing it
Right.
for other reasons? And
I
so that's
guess
kind of the question.
well, the question is really, and I'm sure you think about this, is like you're building a fan base, you're building your tribe of people who will support whatever project you do next, whatever you don't know what your next thing is going to be 5 years from now, but
Right.
it's great to have a super fan base, and
Exactly.
that's kind of, I mean, is that the reason why you have a Patreon? I mean,
That's why I have one. And honestly, so when I do get those mean comments, or when I get down on myself and a video doesn't perform well, or any reason, I have my Patreon patrons who are there to boost me up and
right,
give me, because it's like, oh, this video didn't do well or whatever. But it's like, but these people support me so much that they are willing to part with their dollars to support me, and are it, it's not just about the money. It is about their fervor,
but are you
and their
checking in with
support.
them I mean, other than
Yeah.
the monthly call, are you checking in with them on a daily basis, or what are you
No,
doing?
not daily. I post on there and everything, and I'm trying to get better
Uh-huh.
and nurture that a little bit more. One thing I'm trying to do, especially in the new year, is have more ways to connect
Yeah.
without my making more actual content, and that is going to be with the cookbook. And so we're figuring out ways where I can kind of show them a bit more of the behind the scenes of
Yeah, people
creating
like
the
that.
cookbook.
Do you have a
Uh,
newsletter as well?
no, I don't. I'm almost ready to finally hit publish on my website that I've been working
Uh,
on forever and ever.
right.
And there will be a newsletter, a way to sign up, even though there is no newsletter at the
Newsletter.
moment,
Yeah.
because it just comes down to I have no minutes in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm always having to choose. It's like, do I want to start a podcast, or do I want to work on more videos, or do I want to do more shorts for YouTube and TikTok and Instagram? I can't do it all.
Yeah.
Do I want to write another cookbook? I can't do it all. So I'm having to pick and choose. Though a
Yeah.
podcast is something I would like to do in the new year as well.
And a cooking podcast, or no, or just
No.
no, what would it
Um,
be?
it would be more history focused.
Oh, okay.
All the history that I can't talk about on the show because I can't figure out a way to tie it into food. It would be
Uh-huh.
more of that and more conversational, not quite as produced, not as
Right.
scripted, more,
Y-
telling a story, interviews,
Yeah.
talking to other historians, to people who are in it, episodes where me and my brother, who can just talk forever, we each read some history book and then just kvetch about it for an hour.
Right. Right.
So that's what I want to do. And that again is more about building community,
Yeah.
giving people more of that stuff without it's less about the money and more
Yeah.
just about building that audience.
Yeah. And hopefully, yeah. That's so it's so you're doing it the right way, obviously. Who would have thought? I mean, it's when I look at your 2 million subscribers, that's nuts, man. I mean, you
Yeah.
understand that there are TV shows that don't get a fraction of that. They don't get a fraction.
That's, I was talking to someone recently who has straddled the world of YouTube and television,
Uh-huh.
and YouTube is still social media rather is still very much kind of the redheaded stepchild, and
Yeah.
it's traditional publishing and traditional
Mhm.
TV get so much more clout,
Yeah.
but this is actually where the dollars are, and this is where
Mhm.
the community and the fan base is. This is still important, but he was like, if do I put in 2 years of working on a TV show, or do I put in 2 months of working on more YouTube videos? And the end result ends up being pretty much the same. And I
Yeah.
own this.
Right.
Netflix owns this.
Interesting. Because I was talking to a very big YouTuber who I know well a couple weeks ago, who was pursuing, he's huge on YouTube and was pursuing some TV opportunities. Like, why am I doing this? It's just for validation. It's not for money. It's not for creativity. It's not for control. It's just for some stupid validation that I will never get anyway. So why am
No,
I doing it?
it's absolutely true. I mean, it's funny with the cookbook,
Mhm.
you know, there's you don't make a ton of money in cookbook sales unless you're Martha Stewart, but
Right.
let me tell you, my parents were far more impressed that I had published a cookbook than,
Really?
than my YouTube channel,
Right.
because there's still a place for it. That's still, it is still important. And there is still that kind of legacy media
Yeah.
thing about it. And I'm glad I did it, because now I have a book that will get to always sit physically on a shelf, even if all digital stuff dies away
Yeah.
from some solar flare. That book will still be on a shelf.
Do you have any worry though? Because, algorithms change every second. People's accounts get shut down. I mean, everything changes in a dime. Is that any concern of yours?
Uh, I'm always stressing about it,
Uh-huh.
because I stress less about the algorithm changing, even though it could absolutely happen, and views drop by 90%. It happens to other channels all the time.
Yeah.
I personally, I'm more worried about me burning out and that
Uh-huh.
happening. But I do worry about my channel being taken over, or
Yeah.
faulty copyright claims, and all.
Yeah.
You just, and there are ways to combat against that, but even some of the biggest creators have fallen prey to it, and so it's kind of like, I don't know. But yeah,
You
I
don't,
stress about it all the
you
time.
do. Right. I mean, obviously the answer is get on your own platform or not be agnostic to platform, but obviously you have ones that do
Right.
better than others. So what are you going to do about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously YouTube is really where I'm entrenched, but I
Uh-huh.
am trying to that's one reason why I'm trying to work on the short form content, to
Yeah.
get a bigger following on Instagram and TikTok. So if something happens, I can put out a blast and say, "Hey, I'm still here."
Right.
There's just, I don't know.
Yeah. It's not as easy as people think it is. And that's why people give up. And I think that's the good news, because it just, leaves more space for people like you who don't give up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the cool thing is, everybody, I remember when I started the channel, I watched a lot of videos on how to start a YouTube channel.
Uh-huh.
And
Really?
I remember so many people then were saying YouTube is saturated, there is no more room. Who's on YouTube is on YouTube, and nobody more can get in. And obviously that's not true.
Right.
And something there, it's like it always grows. It's like the goldfish, it just will grow to fill whatever.
It's interesting because I've been on YouTube for a long time. I get very little traction on it. On TikTok, I'm pretty big, but YouTube, no one seems to care.
Well, and that's the thing, on TikTok, I can't usually get people to watch most of my videos. It works
Uh-huh.
on YouTube. I'll have one thing that works really well on Instagram, but not
Right.
on TikTok, and vice versa. So when I say like there's no space on YouTube, I think there absolutely is, because there are new channels hitting 1 million subscribers every day.
Right.
Um, but there are so many more venues. There is TikTok. There wasn't 5 years ago. TikTok really was very, very small,
Yeah.
and now it's huge. And so there are just always new things coming.
Yeah.
So if you put out good content,
Yeah.
people, I think, will watch. It's just they gotta find it, and that usually is what takes time.
Yeah. I was talking to Taylor Lorenz, who wrote a book on the history of influencers and stuff. There's many people who are, they prank videos on TikTok or YouTube or whatever.
Right.
And those poor people burn out real fast because they have to constantly one up themselves. If they prank, whatever this prank was today, the next one's got to be bigger. And then it's like they're destroying their lives because they have to. But you don't have to do that. You just have to come up with another recipe.
Yeah. I'm lucky in that, because I was just watching a video where it's like, why is every YouTube video the most? We did every blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because it's the Mr. Beastification. It's like got to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But as long as there's history that I haven't covered, and there always will be, and food that I haven't covered, and there pretty much always will be, I've got stuff. So I think that before I run out of ideas, I will run out of me.
Yeah.
I will burn out before that happens, or not burn out, but get bored and
Get
just
bored
not
with it.
enjoy it anymore. And the moment I don't enjoy it anymore,
People
or
may not realize that even the thumbnails on YouTube, there's a lot of thought that people put on thumbnails, and usually they're crazy. And you
yeah,
don't do that. Your thumbnails are classy looking, but at some point you must have experimented with crazy thumbnails at some point.
I haven't gone super crazy because, and this is going to sound really ridiculous. The problem with the channel growing as fast as it did
Uh-huh.
meant that I didn't get a lot of time to experiment.
Right.
Um, Really, by the time, my videos, between the second video and now, they haven't changed in format
Right.
at all, really.
Well, it works.
It works, which is great, but there are things that I would have probably changed to make it better or whatever. But I can't change some things now because the audience just loves it so much, and now it's just kind of.
But do you really feel that? What would happen if you experimented? You're worried about losing them?
Not so much worried about losing them. It's more, there's like, I'm a collector. And
Uh-huh.
so if I change too much, then it's like, well, this one doesn't belong in the collection. Like I have
Right.
a few live streams on my channel, and I
Uh-huh.
don't even count them as videos, because like, well, it's not
It's
in
not
the
that.
format.
So that's more than your thing, though. I mean,
It's my thing. But
uh-huh.
also, if I were to start over again, I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't have an 8-second opening
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
title sequence. That is
Yeah.
YouTube death.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. Yeah. But it's
and
not. I mean, it is, but it's not. That's part of what makes it look like a TV show, by the way.
no, it works. I mean, it does work, but it
Uh-huh.
is kind of like, gosh, what would have happened if I hadn't had that 8 seconds? But it's not enough since it is
Uh-huh.
working. It's like, well, why change?
Why change it?
Um,
Yeah.
and whenever I've really experimented with thumbnails and tried to change it, I haven't noticed that they've done a
Better.
lot better or worse.
Uh-huh.
Partly because my channel is a little bit more, a lot of people are like, this feels like an old PBS show.
Yeah. It's
And
It's
so
classier. Yeah.
it's classier,
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't think the thumbnail where I'm on there going would
Yeah. Right.
really, you're
Of
not
course
going
not.
to, because the video is not going to deliver on
Yeah.
that.
Right.
That's not what the video is. And so then it is clickbait. And
Yeah.
I hate that,
Yeah.
So are they the best? No. But do they work? Yes. And
Do you
I'm fine.
do you talk to a lot of other creators do you think a lot about this, or are you in your little silo and you stick to, what you do?
I'm very much in my little silo. I mean, I think about it all the time, but I don't talk to many other creators about it. I do have a handful, especially in the last year since I've been traveling, that I've
Uh-huh.
gotten to meet.
Yeah.
But part of the thing has been that they do have big teams.
Yeah.
I've made friends with Josh on Mythical Kitchen, who's amazing,
Mhm.
and he puts out so much fun stuff. But that's a big group because it's part of the Good Mythical
Mythical.
Morning,
Yeah.
production world.
Yeah.
So when I've gone to film stuff there's a dozen people behind the
Yep.
camera. They've got like 7 cameras and lighting in a
Yeah.
studio and writers and editors and everything. So it's hard to talk inside baseball with him about all aspects because
Yeah.
he's not involved in all aspects, and
Yeah.
other people who aren't involved in all aspects. So it's kind of like, all right, who does their own thumbnails? Okay, I can talk to them. Who does their editing? Oh, I can talk to them.
Uh,
So that's kind of the problem with being a solo creator. There are plenty of us out there. It's just I haven't met all that many.
but even in terms of navigating, your career, or navigating trolls or anything, I'm surprised you don't have, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not as social as
Uh,
I probably should be. So there aren't many people that I talk to on a regular basis, and that not creators. I mean, just people in general. I have a
right.
handful of friends, none of whom are in this field,
Right.
um, who I talk to. I talk more about board games than I do anything else because that's what we do. We play board games. So, um, or most of my friends who are close do more what you do. They're professional TV writers,
Uh-huh.
and so I can talk to them about writing,
Right.
and storytelling, which has been a huge help.
Right.
Um, and but thumbnails, not so much.
It's so interesting. Well, Max Miller, thank you so much for joining me. I think you're a huge inspiration. I think what you've done is so. I know you're rolling your eyes, but I think it's so admirable.
Thank you.
Like I said on my podcast, I just like to talk to people who invent themselves, which is what you've done. You have invented yourself, and you have not asked for permission. You just did it, and all these, you put the energy out, and great things have come from it. And I'm not a cooking guy, and I like your videos. I just think it's wonderful what you do. So I couldn't cook any. I can't make a sandwich, but thank you so much. But yeah, so everyone should go. Is your handle the same everywhere? On all your channels?
Pretty much Tasting History with Max Miller,
Mhm.
except on Twitter, where I think it's Tasting History 1.
Yeah, because it has to be short. Yeah.
Yeah.
Twitter's short. Everyone go follow him. Go check out his channel. It's such an interesting. I imagine you're going to have some great Christmas content coming up because you have to. Yes, for sure. Great. Max, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for joining me. And everyone, be inspired by this guy. Keep creating. For more, keep following me next week, and keep creating. All right.
So now we all know what the hell Michael Jamin's talking about. If you're interested in learning more about writing, make sure you register for my free monthly webinars at michaeljamin.com/webinar. And if you found this podcast helpful or entertaining, please share it with a friend and consider leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. That really, really helps. For more of this, whatever the hell this is, follow Michael Jamin on social media at Michael Jamin Writer. And you can follow Phil Hudson on social media at Phil A. Hudson. This podcast was produced by Phil Hudson. It was edited by Dallas Crane, and music was composed by Anthony Rizzo. And remember, you can have excuses or you can have a creative life, but you can't have both. See you next week.